Sup, Nerdmigos? I'm the Jive Talking Nerd, John Norgrove. We've got Wife here, and we're back at it again for Trek Jive. Specifically, Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 5, Imposters. So before we get into all of the business and all of the shenanigans, this Trek Jive is brought to you by the unadulterated rage that comes with having already recorded this on Thursday after watching Star Trek and then being like, oh, okay, well, I guess files are going to corrupt, audio's not going to be there, so we got to do this shit again.
Yeah.
Which is just
after we had already been talking about how great we thought that episode was. 45 not just the episode, because the episode is great.
I mean the episode of Trek Jive, not just the episode of Picard.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. Listen, you know what? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So, to get the business out of the way, don't forget to like this video, comment below, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and do all that kind of stuff. This is obviously going to be spoilerful. Full of spoilers, 5 spoilers.
All spoilers.
All stacked on the back of your car. Minivans with spoilers.
Of spoilers.
Smorgasbord of spoilers. Possibly even a smorgastarta if you're going to put a little bit of stuff in between.
You go make fancy.
Fancy spoilers. So, all right. So let's just get right into Picard, Season 3, Episode 5, Imposters. As I said before, this is, okay. This is a great episode. We actually rewatched it so that it would be like even more fresh in our mind for this second review.
Even though we already watched it like 2 days ago.
Yeah. But so, best episode ever, right?
It's
best episode ever. Goodbye. This was such a great episode. This is like easily the best episode of this season, in my opinion. And I think that it feels like each episode is progressively getting better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like generalizations, great episode, fantastic writing, fantastic acting. I'm on board with Captain Shaw. Hundo Passundo. Give me a Captain Shaw First Officer 7
in
series.
like the beginning, you were like,
I hated Captain Shaw. Yeah,
this guy's mean. Listen, He's being mean to my friends.
I would have spaced the guy. Episode 2, Space Shaw. Episode 5, you don't keep Shaw around. He's pretty cool. This episode has a lot of like great Shaw moments. I think like last episode had good Shaw moments, but I think this episode has like maybe less like good acting. I think episode 4 definitely had the like, you can see that the actor who's portraying Captain Shaw was like bringing the thunder. And I think in this one, you're seeing the same thing, but what you're seeing is like the character of Shaw kind of go through a very different sort of emotions in this episode. You know, so that's great. So that's all A plot stuff. The B plot for this is we're back with Raffi and Worf on Party Planet District 6. And they decide it starts with, we're just gonna kind of go through the B plot real quick. It starts with them doing a little sword fight meditation thing, which was fun. I mean, it's fun. I love Raffi and Worf together. It's so great because Raffi's just like, ah, and Worf's like, calm down, child. It's gonna be okay. Which is great. That Worf is now the one telling people to relax and not just like shoot first and ask questions second. So great character development there. But
for Worf.
Raffi's
zero character development.
Raffi's still a little bit of a mess. Hey, you know, it's okay. Probably.
Oh, she's so unlikable.
She kind of is.
She's so unlikable. I can't get past it.
Good job on the actress portraying just kind of a nightmare person.
Yeah,
she's just kind of a nightmare person.
Raffi is a very toxic person.
Yeah, she is.
I understand why her ex-husband and baby daddy was like,
you
gotta make choices.
Yeah, 2 episodes ago, we learned why, and so, kids, don't do drugs. Or if you're going to do it, be responsible about it, which is the more correct answer.
Yeah.
But so Worf and Raffi decide, like, they figure it out. They're like, all right, we got to figure out what's going on with this Daystrom Institute stuff. We're going to break in. And then they reach out to Worf's handler, and Worf's handler is like, no. But maybe you find a different way to do this shit. And so they decide to just walk down the streets of District 6, fire some guns up in the air, and be like, bring out the other mob boss.
For a fight.
Yeah. And so, of course, the other mob boss gets brung out. And he's like this like smooth talking mob Vulcan and is the coolest guy
so cool.
ever.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's so fucking cool.
And I really liked the Ferengi. I really liked Sneed. I really liked
Sneed
him.
was dope. Yeah, Sneed was dope.
Yeah.
But this Vulcan is like absolute fire. He's so cool. He immediately recognizes that Raffi was wearing a holo emitter. Thank you. I called that shit like first time. Like it was like a peek. Just like a glancing peek at her arm. And I was just like, what's she wearing on that? A holo emitter? She got one of those? And then, of course, like, reveal it was that, which is great.
Yeah.
And he's like, you think I wouldn't recognize a holo emitter? Like a patient man plans, it's only logical, or some nonsense like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Raffi was in the sniper position, and she gets the, like hooty hoo, somebody's got a gun on
shoulder.
You. Yeah, which was cool, or phaser on you. And so he brings him in, and it's basically like, yeah, like I know all the things that you know, and I knew that you were looking for me. So like, you took my friend away because I grew up with that Ferengi, and we were basically like blood brothers. So I guess you guys are just gonna have to fight to the death because fuck you.
Because I'm a monster and I have a bunch of Vulcan lackeys.
Yeah.
I really loved this. And I have not been super into the B plot lately.
Into the party planet
but
shenanery.
I am now fully into this.
I'm very vested. Yeah.
Like, I loved how Worf just like kneeled down and waited for the ecosystem of the underworld planet
to right itself.
It's a very Qui-Gon Jinn moment. And actually, I couldn't quite figure it out when we recorded the first version of this video, but there was something like kind of like in the back of my mind going like, this reminds me of something. What is it? And it very much reminds me of like Qui-Gon Jinn and like young Obi-Wan, where you're getting like, I want to do stuff. And then you're getting like, just be calm.
Yeah. Just
relax,
wait. It's going to happen.
Wait.
Yeah.
It's going to come
you're
us.
Definitely getting this like mentor, mentee,
yeah,
like sort of mature and immature duality between
Raffi.
Yeah. Well, I think
she needs some of this zen.
Chill.
Can I study under Zen Master Worf, please?
Yeah.
And also, I love
Klingon Zen Gnosticism over here.
Love the idea of a Vulcan mob boss. Like, it's something that I have never seen.
It's so good. Dude,
I would have never thought about it.
This dude pours like fucking honey on the screen.
Oh,
let me tell you.
Yeah.
He's just in here just untouchable, unstoppable, so full of himself, so sure of himself. It really shows that like kind of like undercurrent of asshole that you see in like later Vulcan stuff, especially like Star Trek Enterprise, where the Vulcans are just dicks.
Yeah.
Like there's not a nice way to say it. All the Vulcans in Enterprise are just complete assholes for what seems to be they're just like fucking humans over here. Yeah. And you're like, bro, help.
Like a Vulcan mob boss.
They're trying to save the world. Like,
that's like a big move.
It is. Honestly, when I first saw him, really I was like, Romulan? But then I saw the Idic, and I was just like, that's Vulcan, because that's not like a Romulan thing.
Yeah.
At all. Plus, he's following the like laws of logic, and he never really lost his emotional cool.
No,
it's very Vulcan. It's just like he's a Vulcan, and he's just like logically a mob boss is the right thing to do if you grew up like poor and destitute in District 6, and you're just like, yeah, I mean it is. You're like cold-hearted.
I get it.
But I get it.
I definitely want like a buddy cop kind of, like not really cop, but like buddy cop kind of like dichotomy.
Yeah.
Like Odd Couple with him and the Ferengi. I would
absolutely watch
like
a
spin-off
like
show.
like a crime drama,
like a crime drama
Fellows.
spin-off show. And I am not a crime drama person.
Oh, I love that
It
stuff,
is
dude.
not my bag.
I love police procedurals. I love crime dramas. I love all that.
This Vulcan,
I'm here for it.
and I really liked Sneed's character too. Like the two characters together. I would absolutely watch something like that.
Totally. But so he gets he makes Raffi and Worf knife fight to the death, and Raffi stabs Worf in one of his hearts. And the Vulcan's just like, the smell of Klingon blood disgusts me. Get rid of this guy. And so one of his lackeys, one of his hench folk, like checks Worf's pulse and is like, he's definitely dead. And then like drags Worf away.
And I called it immediately. I was like, he's not dead.
Yeah. Well, he's
just
two hearts. He's doing some
slowed his blood. He just slowed his heart rate down real far.
Yeah. He's doing that meditation stuff. And then all of a sudden, this Vulcan mob boss is like kind of like syruping all over the place, just being like, "Ooh, I won, I got this," whatever. And you hear just like a bunch of like sort of like bing bang booming in the background, and all of a sudden Worf just kind of like rises into scene behind him and is like, "Did you think that was the end of this shit, bro?" You can never predict what a Klingon's gonna do or some nonsense like that. And then basically they like get the information out of him. Although I love the line when he's just like Worf's like, "Did you think that?" And he's like trying to deliver the line. And he's just like, "Okay, maybe we get this done. I need medical attention immediately."
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great.
So fun. So they get like a little bit of comedy in there.
So they get the like MacGuff information and details that they need. And then like that's basically all that happens on the B plot. And then the A plot is like Riker and Picard and Seven and Shaw all in the ready room, and like Riker essentially like passes command back over to Shaw now that like Shaw's healthy again, and is like, "Okay, well, I guess."
He's like, "I called mom and dad."
Yeah. Shaw's like, "Well, I called Starfleet. So because you guys like saved the day and helped out in that nebula thing or whatever, I'm gonna give you like 5 minutes to figure your shit out, and then like we'll go from there or whatever." So and of course Picard's just like, "I'll sacrifice myself for the cause. It was all me, guys." Picardly, and so the USS Intrepid shows up, which. And I brought this up in the first review. Technically, the Intrepid should be an Intrepid class ship, which means to me that the Intrepid class ship has been retired, or at least altered in such a way that they were able to reassign a new class of ship to the call sign Intrepid, to the name Intrepid, right? Because ships are generally named, a class of ship is named after the first ship in that thing in Star Trek. I don't know if that's the way it is in like the regular Navy, or if that's even like a super hard and fast rule, but that's just the way that it's always been like explained and described to me. So we got the USS Intrepid, which was a beautiful ship. Okay, these showrunners know exactly what we want, which is just like sexy ship shots all day, every day.
Gratuitous.
So, and the Intrepid's a very interesting ship with the like sort of like underslung, not connected through a traditional neck system. I mean, the Intrepid is almost like the NX-01 Enterprise, but instead of running a neck down from the saucer section, it's like they're running like a reverse neck, like almost like an upside down scorpion's tail from the engineering deck where the nacelles attach down to the primary hull, which is generally called the engineering hull because that's where the nacelles are attached. So very interesting design on that. Super, super cool. So the Intrepid shows up and they're like, the Intrepid said they're going to send a shuttle over. And Shaw's like, the transporters are broken. Like, what the fuck's going on with this stuff? So the shuttle comes over and we get arguably the most insane reveal maybe all of the most recent shows of Star Trek has ever developed. When we watched this the first time, I was like 6 feet away from the TV. Not even, like 4 feet away from the TV. Just like, how do I know who this lady is? Who is this lady? And then Picard's just like, or Riker's like, Ensign Ro, and I'm just like, no fucking way, man. I was very hyped. I freaked out, dude.
You fully freaked out.
The Picard Ro story is so well done. It's so interesting. And to wrap up the Ensign Ro story with Picard, because this is the final season of the series or whatever, in a million years, I would have never, ever guessed they would have done that. Not at all. Fucking genius. Genuinely genius writing on this. I absolutely loved it. The reveal that like Ro's alive and she is Worf and Raffi's handlers, and that she's been secretly investigating this whole fucking thing and like she can't get anywhere with it, so she just gives Picard the secret information stored in her fucking thing. And let me tell you what, when Ro first shows up, we're like, goop. What's Ensign Ro? Goop, man.
She's goop.
Ensign goop.
She's definitely goop.
Right?
Because 100%. They came over on a shuttle.
They came over on a shuttle. We're like, goop, right? Because transporters would have detected it or whatever the fuck, right? So we're like, goop. And then We also find out, like, during Ro's initial show up, because Crusher's, like, dissecting the Goopman that took on Ensign LaForge's shape.
Yeah.
That normally when a Goopman dies, they, like, return to goop.
Yeah.
But these Goopmen, when they die, they stay not gooped. Unless you, like, dissect the organs enough
and
that they become
only
goop.
the organs become goop.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then
like, you
then
cut it up
bit,
enough and it turns into goop.
It turns back to goop, which is, like, super different, right? So, and she, like, even says that. She's just like, this is crazy. But so we're just like, Ensign Ro, more like Ensign Goop. Ha 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 ha. Got her. And then Picard is just like, hey, first of all, what the fuck are you doing here? How'd you get back? I hate you, low key, bro. And also, where's your earring? Like, remember all of that, dog? And she's just like, this isn't about this. I want to know where your son is. Tell me about your son. Why are you dodging my questions? And then he gets, like, the message from Beverly where she's just like, she's like, don't trust anybody. Everything's shadows.
Beverly's like, goop. Anybody can be gloop, don't trust. And then we're like, she's the gloop.
Yeah, we're like, she's gloop. And then she's like,
telling the story about how
she takes him to the holodeck, and it's like, let's go to the holodeck, lock the door, turn on some music, these walls are thin. And I am like, she is gonna murder Picard?
Yeah, I was like, she's
dog?
Gloop. She was
so
originally a person, and then when she came back from the Maquis,
all gloop. She came back Maquis
She been
gloop.
like
long-term gloop.
Long game gloop.
Yeah. And then it's revealed, because of their, like, relationship, you know, their, like, mentor-mentee, father-daughter relationship, secretly, she's not gloop, which, I'm gonna be honest with you, shock. I was like, oh my God, Ensign Ro. And then they're like, gloop. And I'm just like, Ensign Ro's gloop.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what a twist. And then not gloop.
Really
even bigger twist. Even bigger twist that she's not gloop.
Yeah, even, like, they really had
they did,
going.
dude. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they really strung you along with the gloop there.
Stringing you along till the very last moment.
So her and Picard kind of have like a touching moment where, like, Picard kind of finally realizes that, like, I think that Picard really realized that, and he says at the end when like, after everything's said and done, when Riker's like, oh, I know how much she meant to you, and he's like, I don't think you did. I don't think even I really understood. And I think it's because he realized that she wasn't just a mentee. She wasn't just like any of the million ensigns that Picard, through his, like, tenure as captain all the way up through admiral, has like mentored. I think that Ensign Ro really was like a daughter to him. Yeah. I think that she meant a lot more. I think he saw a lot of that sort of rebelliousness in him, which is really interesting because the other day was the episode where Picard dies and goes, where Picard gets shot in the heart. On BBC, yeah. Was the episode of TNG where Picard gets shot in the heart and then Q's like, hold on, I stopped your soul from going there. I'm gonna take you backwards in time so you can save the day, you know, so you can, like, not have a robot heart so that way you don't die in this thing. And then, like, all of that shenanigans happens. And you learned that back then, like, when Picard was like still going to officer's school or whatever, was still in the academy, that he was kind of a little shit disturber.
Yeah.
You know, like, cheating at whatever sci-fi pool is, and, like, had, like you going to bars and starting fights with big motherfuckers and shit. Like, it was, like, a whole thing, you know? So, like, I think he saw a lot of himself in her. Mm-hmm. With that strong backbone of, like honor and work, but also like rebelliousness and such like that. So I think that that's kind of like what he learned from this. But so they're, like, in the holodeck and they realize that they're both not gloops, and she's like, don't trust nobody, everything's evil. And so so they, like, leave, and, like, the other two security guards who were, like, wandering the ship looking for Jack were like, hey, we found you in the holodeck, but the door was locked, what's going on? And she's like, it's great, it's like, everything's gangster, I'm gonna give Picard, like, a sly handshake full of earrings, and then let's head back. And the security guards are like, that seems totally fucking normal, yeah. And so even though we're investigating stuff, so they, like, head back, and these two security guards, who were, like, already, like, the two most sus people,
very sus, yeah,
humanly possible, right? Also, why would they if the threat of gloop exists, which I guess maybe they just didn't realize how threat the gloop was, but, like, if the threat of gloop exists, why are you letting a shuttlecraft full of motherfuckers come over to your ship without giving them, like, deep gloop scans or some nonsense? But whatever, right? So,
but also maybe she thought that the transporter guy could have been Gloop, and then if they made a mistake with the transporter,
well,
she's that's lost now.
That's definitely what Ro was afraid of and why she took a shuttle. And I mean, we learned that because the scanners that detect Gloop essentially just scan for organs, and Gloop don't keep organs when they're in human form or whatever, like would have been defeated by these newfangled Gloops.
Yeah.
But like, whatever. So she's like, let's go. And so they leave. And then when they're flying the shuttle back to the Intrepid, the 2 security guards are like, oh, hey, let me install this like explosive on the floor and like disable your communication systems. And then we're just going to beam over back to the Titan to like murder. And so Ensign Ro calls Picard and is just like, hey, listen, I'm not going to make it, bro. And Picard's like, no, come back. Like Seven's like, we might be able to save her if she gets like close enough to our ship. And Ro's just like, no, not like this. So she flies her shuttle so that way it blows up right next to the port nacelle, the aft nacelle, whatever. The port nacelle for the Intrepid, like essentially straining them at like technically not capable of achieving warp, although like,
but also
they might be able to do like a little bit
so that like she's not putting anybody in danger on either ship.
Yeah, because like a bunch of the Titan's crew, like most of the Titan's crew,
all the Titan's
was beamed over to the Intrepid.
Was beamed over.
Yeah. So she did like the right thing or whatever, and that like super affected Picard, obviously.
Yeah.
But so the 2 Gloopmen like arrive in the corridor and are just like, Jack Crusher, we're gonna put a transporter on you
like
and steal you.
Them, like,
and then 2 more like beam in and are just like, what's up, Gloop, back up, baby, how you doing? And Jack Crusher, who's been having hallucinations this whole episode.
Yeah.
So episode opens with a halluc that he's in a uniform and goes under the bridge and murders everybody with a phaser, and then like sees Gloop invading his mind, like tendrils on the walls and on people's faces and shit.
Yeah.
And then later on, he like gets assigned the uniform to like hide in plain sight from Seven, and goes to the transporter room because he's not handling shit well.
Yeah, he's not
doing well. And so he shows up in the transporter room, and the transporter, like the ensign in the transporter room, who is sending everybody off the Titan to the Intrepid, is like, "What's up, dude?" And he's like, "Can you transport me somewhere that isn't a Federation ship?" And obviously, this ensign's like, "No, we're in the middle of space. Where are you? What? No."
Yeah.
Are you doing okay, dog? And then he has a halluc that he murders this transporter ensign, and he's like, nah, I'm good, man. And the transporter ensign decides to fucking not write that down or call anybody about it.
Which is just like
the worst. Like that ensign was bringing mad not my job energy.
Yeah, that guy was like, not my monkeys.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I'm just in charge of transporters, not security, not my problem.
He's like, they don't pay me enough for this.
Yeah, they don't pay me enough for this. They're like, well, but you're in Starfleet, you don't get paid at all. And he's like,
exactly.
Precisely. Bring that millennial energy, if you know what I'm saying.
He's just like, not today.
Yeah, I don't have, this is below my pay grade, above my pay grade.
Not today, Crusher.
Yeah, not today. I get paid too much for this conversation. So he's just like, whatever about that. And then, so when these like 4 Gloops, or like supposed Gloops, like we don't know for sure, but like obviously all 4 of these people are mad sus. So these 4 Gloopmen are like, you're coming with us. And Crusher basically just like closes his eyes and opens the scary door that's in his mind. It's like a red scary door. Yeah. He opens the scary door and just fully activates John Wick mode.
Yeah.
And just murders these guys. Like dead eyes, no emotion on face, dodging phaser blasts, just like breaking arms and shooting people in the head.
Like Born Identity American Ultra activated.
Yeah, like activated, dude. And then it's like over and he's just like, all right, well, I'm done with that. And you're like, no.
And he just like walks off and you're like, what?
Yeah, what the heck was that? Well, after he murders them, he sees the scary door, but like it's not all like flashy halluc. It's just like scary door with like gloop on the walls in the Titan, like in the hallway of the Titan. And then he's like, I mean, okay. And then just like goes. Like he just like disappears it with his mind or whatever, and then goes. And then when like the very end of the episode is basically like him sitting in the medical bay with the 4 murdered Gloopmen, and Shaw's like, you're pretty good at this shooting people in the head thing. Good for you, bro. And
he's like 4-on-1. Good job, son. And he's like, I don't know how I did this. And Shaw's like, ah. And then Beverly's like, can you get the fuck out of here so I can talk to my kid?
Yeah. Well, Beverly's just like, how did you know that these 4 were gloops? And he's just like, I didn't know. And Beverly's like, okay, I'm gonna sit right next to you. How are you doing, my guy?
Yeah.
And he's like, not good, man. I'm not doing good. Basically, end of episode.
Well, and she's talking about how when he was, she's like, oh, I know when you're like not sleeping.
Yeah.
And he admits that he has not been sleeping. And she said that when he was a kid, he used to have really bad nightmares.
Yeah.
And then one day he just like didn't have nightmares.
He just like got over it. Yeah.
So
like that's just like more info because like all the gloops are after him and like.
And we don't know why.
And we don't know why. And Ensign Rose says that she's heard his name be brought up in like other things in the Federation, like in Starfleet. So like we don't know what that's on about. So like that's like a whole ass mystery that we don't have any answers for. But like that's basically what happened in this episode. But like we got a lot of questions answered and we got a lot of wrap up, but we also got a lot more questions posed in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I know, okay, so like the main sort of through thread in this is WTF is going on with Jack Crusher. And like, okay, so initially I thought,
what is the deal? Like what is the deal with his stuff? Why
what's going on with Scary Door? Why do they want him? Honestly, what's going on with the gloop folk? Like we know we got gloops and we know that like this is like some like haters post Dominion War or whatever. But like again, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
So it is tinfoil hat time. I will make a tinfoil hat for future times. Like
we
this.
should have done that in between.
I almost pulled the tinfoil out for this episode and was just like, I'm doing shop stuff. I don't got time for that. So I was working on Etsy shop stuff instead. But I'm gonna make a tinfoil hat for y'all because it is tinfoil hat time. Initially I thought that Jack Crusher nanites. Okay, but then I started thinking maybe gloops because he was getting tendrils and such, right? Like tendril halluces. But now I think it's nanites again. But it's deeper. It goes deeper. So adventure with me.
That was just the tip of this iceberg.
Put your tinfoil hat on. Let me tell you what my thought is here. Okay, so these gloops have the ability to retain even more advanced human form that can bypass scanning and they can hold that human form for longer and all this kind of stuff. I think, as well as like visually speaking, these gloops are a thicker consistency of gloop. It's the grossest way I can think of saying that. They're a much meatier gloop, if you will. So I think that these gloops, Crusher said that it's evolution, and I think that that's Beverly just doing not great doctor stuff, but that's fine. I think that these gloops are essentially being interbred with or genetically augmented with species 8472 DNA. And the reason why I think that is that we know that species 8472 are like mad bio and whatever, right? And like they come from fluidic space and whatever. But I think, okay, so in Voyager, we find out that species 8472 can essentially just take like a genetic hypo spray and then they can be human. They can't do it for long. They have to keep updating with like more sprays. But I mean, they pass like DNA, they pass scans, they pass everything. That was part of that like whole, like they built a fake Starfleet Academy to try and like invade, which that's their idea. Species 8472 idea was to invade Starfleet by placing agents all throughout Starfleet Command and Starfleet training so as to be able to take over the Federation because they knew that the Federation was a real ass threat because of how like murdery Janeway was, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, well, I mean, you know, what do you think the fluid in fluidic space is? Yeah, it's cold brew, baby. How you doing? So I think 8472 was like, all right, we got to infiltrate Starfleet, but like we can't do it on our own. Let's team up with these like rogue Dominion War gloopmen who also hate Starfleet. By our powers combined, let's Captain Planet this. This Starfleet invasion or whatever. So I think that these new gloops, these advanced gloop people, are half gloop, half 8472. I think they're these gloop 472 people. That's why their organs like stay not glooped up. I think it's why they pass the scans and shit. I think that's what's going on with the gloop people. All right, which also supports my idea that Jack got nanites all up in him. I think he's had nanites his entire life because Jean-Luc was Locutus of Borg, which is like, he had nanites and was connected to the hive mind and whatnot, but his nanites were never designed to like erase his personality. The whole thing with Locutus of Borg was that the Borg Queen, seeing the threat that the Federation posed to the Borg and wanting to be able to like take over the Federation, wanted the singular mindedness of a great strategist like Picard, and somebody who knew the stuff like Picard, but who could think in a singular way, seeing that that was like the one thing that the Borg couldn't successfully overcome all the time, fighting Federation ships, right? So if Picard had some nanites in him, and we learned through 7 of 9 that when you get deborgified, you always got like a little bit of nanites in you, as well as in Star Trek First Contact and a couple of other Star Trek stuff, we learned that Picard still like hears the whispers of the hive mind, right? It's like he doesn't have like a full interplexing beacon like what 7 of 9 has, which is just like an interplexing beacon that's like disabled. But like Jean-Luc has like a little bit, he has like a partial interplexing beacon or whatever. I think that when that like Jack is his kid, and I think that Jack like was essentially born with some nanites in him, but because those nanites were never connected to the hive and only understood the like, could only like kind of vaguely understand the like job of nanites, keeping his body repaired and like all that kind of stuff, but still like connect with the matrix or whatever. I think that he also has some sort of a broken or partial interplexing beacon that allows him to essentially like hear the whispers of the hive. I think the scary door is the hive on the other side, which is why when he's in a threat like that, his mind mentally opened the scary door a little bit, cracked the scary door, which let the voices of the hive come in, and essentially they just like matrix the one some kung fu into this guy's head, right? Like, oh, I know karate now, right? Yeah. Just like that's mean. But he's just like, just like matrix the ones it. So the voices are like what downloaded murder into him a little bit, so he could like John Wick his way out of that situation. And I think the other reason why I think this is because, so if he were part gloop and the gloopmen were trying to activate the gloopness in him, why would they try and activate the gloop by giving him actually gloopy ass nightmares? Because this kid is he's not like, oh man, you know what sounds really good right now? A bunch of mush. Not at all. He's just like murder everybody. The gloop is always like doing this. It's always like it like everywhere and like above him and invading. Yeah. And in like the scene at the beginning of this one, when the girl with the like green on her face gets like gloop tendrils on her face, like it's taking over. I think that the nanites, because the Borg are species 8472's greatest enemy and greatest threat, right? So if the Borg, whatever rogue like semi-collective of the Borg still remains spread across the galaxy, if they know that species 8472 has been working with the rogue agents of the gloop to invade Starfleet with some gloop 472 hybrids, which would explain why they're able to like omit detection and all this kind of stuff, right? Then the Borg would be trying to work on a plan to fight back, right? Which means that the hive is going to be like very sensitive to like, what is that, a gloop? What is that, 847 gloop? What is that, gloop 472 over there? Right? So they're all like kind of freaked out about it in like a BE sort of way. And so that means that anytime he's having those hallucinations, he's listening to that, like the whisper, the echoes of the hive mind are sort of like filtering into his like partial interplexing beacon through his nanites. All right. It's essentially all he's feeling is that like oppressive, the gloop 472 is everywhere. You can't trust anybody. It's invading everybody. You know, it's taking over. It's like oppressing and scary. Right. And it's motivating him to stay running and stay hiding and stay fighting. And I know he said that he didn't know that those security officers were gloops, but I think the fact that the scary door,
the nanites did.
Exactly. I think the nanites can detect the presence of gloop 472 because of its direct history with 8472, right? And I think that like also it would make sense. Okay, so they were there, like they broke in to steal the big portal gun, but like they were also stealing something else. Maybe that's something else that they were stealing from the from that science center is in fact the last remnants of the species 8472 nanite virus that was designed to kill species 8472, right? They wouldn't just like keep that shit everywhere. Species 8472 isn't in the Alpha Quadrant. There's like one hole in the Delta Quadrant in the middle of Borg space that accesses that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that means that if like when Voyager returned, they would have had either records of or a small quantity in some sort of stasis or storage or whatever of the nanites that could unravel the entire thing. Because like if you had some nanites that were programmed to only murder 8472 DNA, right? Then you could just like spray that shit everywhere. What are you, Klingon? Fine. What are you, human? Fine. What are you, Gloop 472? Guess what, bitch? You're not gonna be doing okay in like a couple of seconds. You're gonna melt. Right? So I think that's the other thing they broke in to steal, was to steal the one thing that could stop them. And or if it's not actually a collection of the nanites or like data about how to reprogram the nanites, it might be the Doctor from Voyager.
Who knew how to
who
create
would know how, who would be the only one. I mean, technically Seven should know how to create the nanites, but also Seven isn't a computer program, so she wouldn't be able to do it as well.
Yeah.
Right? And or maybe she just like doesn't have all the knowledge that the Doctor had to build those nanites. So that's what I think was stolen. I think that Jack is like vaguely touching on to the Borg, like hive consciousness, to be like afraid of the gloop and detect it everywhere. I think the nanites can detect the gloop 472. Like I totally believe right now, like mad tinfoil, but like I think gloop 472 is the threat, and I think that Jack is got nanites activating, which would also explain why Picard isn't being activated by this stuff, because Picard isn't no longer a person with nanites in him, but is in fact a robot.
Yeah.
Right. And you would think that like Seven would be getting this, but Seven has her interplacing beacon
stuff is disabled.
Fully disabled. Yeah. So she never hears the whispers unless she like turns it on a little bit.
Jack has never been disabled.
Well, Jack has never been enabled either. So he's not understanding that what he's hearing is a hive. All he gets is that is the strong, overpowering fear and the voice of the Queen saying, join us, find us, connect to us. Because the Borg Queen's trying, the Borg Queen is essentially reaching out into the hive mind to try and warn the Federation. But one, who's gonna listen to the Borg, right? That's, they're obviously the Federation's gonna be like, oh, what's that Borg cube? Shoot it down? Questions later, right? So you've got that going for you, right? It also may or may not explain that whole Borg need help in season 2 thing that was never fully answered, and we've all just sort of hand waved away or whatever. But I mean, I know there was the wave of energy thing at the end, but I don't know that makes or does not make any sense. But yeah, I think that Jack got nanites, and I think that the Borg are trying to warn the Federation that the Gloop 472 are out for their butts. So
yeah, and I mean that could be it. I mean, maybe.
Plus, if Jack ever figures that out and communicates, all Seven has to do is crank her head a little bit, and then reactivate her interplexing beacon, and then she would immediately have direct contact with the Borg Queen, where they would be able to download all that information to her head, and she can be like, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you." Yeah.
Well, and I mean, if Jack has been born in line with the nanites in him, that could mean that he's sort of a new type of Borg. Yeah. Very powerful Borg.
Well, perhaps a perfectly
he's the
individual
Borg overlord, even above the Queen, such as
I think
his
that
father.
I think New Cutis, as we're gonna call him, New Cutis. I think New Cutis, because he's a cutie and he's new.
Too cutest.
I think Too Cutest over here is gonna be I don't know that he can. I mean, obviously he can be assimilated, but I think that it's not that he's Borg or something. I think that it's just that he has enough of a connection, but because he grew up with his nanites, that would also explain why he had nightmares as a kid. Yeah. Because he started off with having some nanites, and then once he matured enough to the point where he could think and shit, right? Because the Borg don't really assimilate kids. Yeah. Except for in rare occasions. Yeah. Again, Seven. More often than not, when a Borg has a baby, when there's a baby Borg or a kid Borg or whatever, they just put that shit in a maturation chamber until it becomes an adult and then pop that out fresh drone. Right? Yeah. So I think that it would make sense for the nightmares when he was a kid was that once he reached some stage of development, and maybe it was like a certain amount of mental acuity as a child. Heck, maybe when she said, oh, you had nightmares as a kid, she meant like when he was like going through puberty. Honestly, there wasn't specific enough, which is fine. But like, what if whatever nightmares he had as a kid were like, oh, like his brain is enough that the nanites were like, okay, we're going to turn on now. So they turn on and start trying to build the like necessary network connections in his mind to connect to the hive, right? And what I think would have happened because of the like essentially call sign of Locutus's nanites was that he started having nightmares as the hive started like very slowly integrating into his mind. Not like he was connected to the hive, but like as the nanites got more plentiful and built more connections, then the hive like more invaded him, and he started having like nightmares about whatever the heck the hive was going on about, which would obviously be nightmares. I mean, every Borg knows everything that every other Borg knows, and the Borg are like notorious murderers. Yeah. So imagine being like 7 years old and all of a sudden you're having dreams of like notorious murder from a million perspectives for a billion species, for like hundreds of billions of life forms, because the Borg have like eradicated worlds before, right? Yeah. So he started to have these fucking nightmares and whatever the fuck. And I think it reached a point of connection where like the Borg queen was like, wait a minute, these are Locutus's like signatures, right? Yeah. Whatever, like nanite frequencies
DNA or something.
Or DNA or something. Let's hold off on this. This might be useful later, right? I think that the Borg was like, this might be useful later. Let's stop these nanites. Let's not Borgify this guy yet. We might be able to use him later to reacquire Locutus. And then of course, like all of this time passed, and now all of a sudden they're like, hey, so Gloop 472 is a real threat, and like the Federation is about ready to be not only as powerful and useful as the Federation is, but also 50% our greatest enemy, 8472. So maybe we should do something about it. And she was like, I got just the guy for this. Let's talk to 2Cutis and see what he can do. But because he never developed all of the connections, right? She's like, okay, well, we can only send the reactivate sequence to start building more connections, which is why his hallucinations have started getting worse. Yeah. Because the information has finally spread far enough that the Gloop 472 are like everywhere,
or the frequency pulse,
or whatever, right? So
has quickened.
Yeah, right. Picard's death could have like signaled the transition. Like, we got to start activating. Well, his nanites were so small that it took all this time till now, you know, from Picard dying in season 1 till now, for them to be like, oh my God, like now we can start sending some data to him. And all they're sending him is fear Gloop, fear everyone, and there's a scary door, you should probably open it. And obviously he's not gonna open the scary door, but the door can open itself at least a little bit when he's not using like his mental acuity to over control it. And since he's got Locutus style nanites, those nanites are controlled by him. Yeah. Right? So I think that that's what it is. Like, all we need is one throwaway line where he like heals a little faster than normal people. Boom, dead on the money. But that's what I think this is. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. You can take off your tinfoil hats now. I'm not trying to lecture forever about this, but like that's just like, this episode sold me on this idea. I was like, dude, Gloop 472, bloody nanites, the scary door is some Borg shit. It totally makes sense. Like, because if he's Gloop, why is the Gloop trying to get him by making the Gloop look scary? That's not how you indoctrinate people. Yeah. That's dumb Gloop, my guy.
Well, and why did the Gloop help him to beat up Gloops?
Yeah, exactly. So right? That's what I'm saying. It's all.
So it can't be Gloops.
It's all coming together, man. We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
If we don't make another one of these episodes, it's because Paramount watched this video and they know that I know too much and they disappeared me. So the Star Trek conspiracy. I think that's what's going on with Jack, which would be a fairly dope twist.
That would be pretty interesting.
You know, if we have like a new Cutis and we got Gloop 472, that really. Honestly, that not only wraps up like TNG and Picard and the like Locutus story and all that kind of stuff, but it also adds a bunch to the like Voyager story.
It does.
As well as could lead into the next season, not in fact being Star Trek Picard, but being Star Trek Janeway, where they've already defeated it and now they just have to hunt down the rogue Gloop 472 agents, or possibly the end of this season is basically like, it's all been revealed. The all-out war in the Federation has just begun. Welcome to Civil War 48 Federation Edition,
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
End of season, and you're like, my heart, I can't. And then they're like, let us also announce the next season is Star Trek Janeway, and Janeway teams up with Seven and Jack, who's fucking too cutest over here, just being like, all right, let's hunt Gloop 472s, all Voyager style. Let's steal a new ship, maybe a Voyager, of like a Voyager B or a Voyager C ship, new up-modeled Voyager or something like that. You know, like a new Intrepid edition or whatever.
Or maybe
they go hunting.
Maybe they option out a movie to tell the story in a movie.
Yeah, they could totally do that. I mean, listen, the end of Voyager, the last two episodes of Voyager should have been a movie anyway, and almost was. There were talks about that. Yeah. So, which would have made a fantastic Star Trek movie.
It would be a really great way to kind of reboot the movie universe and bring the show
because I know that there's
line.
Like various numbers of Star Trek movies in the works of various degrees of never gonna happen. So we got that going for us, I guess. Mm-hmm. But so what do you think of this TED Talk? How did you feel? What do you feel about?
Do you subscribe to the conspiracy?
Do you
theory?
Subscribe to the conspiracy theory? How thick is the tinfoil in your hat to make sure that Paramount's rays don't get into your head?
Or
hide the
what is
hide
your
the truth?
conspiracy?
Yeah, what's your conspiracy?
Theory?
What do you think's going on with the Gloops? Why are they more gloopy or less gloopy, and able to stay human after they die? What do you think's going on with Jack and the scary door and his gloopinations? What do you think is going on with Gloops taking over the Federation and all that kind of stuff? And what do you think the other thing is from Daystrom that they're trying to steal? All questions answered by my conspiracy theory that's 100% right, trust me. Yeah. Either way, I think that we've probably talked long enough on this.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, Star Trek Picard season 3 has been so good.
It's been a roller coaster.
So amazing.
It's been so fun.
The Titan is a beautiful ship, and I only want more of this.
Shaw is a really fun character.
Shaw is such a fun character, and we're getting so much like character motion in everybody, and we're getting a lot of wrap up. And I'm like, we didn't even talk about like all of the like Shaw whistling Dixie in the turbo lift with Riker and Picard just like, you know, you got like, I'm real happy, not because you guys are about ready to get raked over the coals, but because I'm just real happy. And like Picard and Riker are like, we've saved the galaxy like a bunch of times. I mean, I feel like we're going to get away with this.
And he's like,
he's just like, yeah?
What about that time you cold dropped a saucer on a planet?
Yeah. What about that? What about when you nearly erased humanity because of a time shenanigan? Yeah. What about all this and
what
this
about
and
all
this and
these
this?
other things?
Yeah. He's like, it's kind of a balancing act, and we'll see if this time one too many crimes. Which is fair. Starfleet captains are pretty crimey. But not as evil as admirals. So I like the dichotomy of Picard being an admiral and being like almost more crimey in these last 3 seasons than he was as a captain. Because, you know, admirals are like notoriously evil in Star Trek.
We have learned that over time. Yes, admirals are very sus.
I can only imagine how murdery Janeway is now that she's an admiral.
Yeah.
My guess is going to be varied. Yeah. She's just blowing up starships for shits and gigs at this point.
Her coffee's cold. Starship.
Yeah. Starship blown up. Computer initiate self-destruct. I'm done with this. But either way, we're going to keep talking if we keep going with this. Either way, I have been John Norgren. This has been Wife. This has been Trek Jive. This has been Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 5, Imposters. Let us know what you thought below. Share us with other people. Subscribe to this channel and do all that kind of shenanigans. Ring some sort of a bell or what have you. And we will catch you guys next time for more Star Trek Picard, more conspiracy theories, because there is a very good chance that the very first scene in the next episode proves everything I just said wrong.
Or right.
And this is going to be a real loud video if it proves me right next time. So we'll catch you on the next one. Stay frosty, guys.